Hi guys, BuildZoid here, and today we're going to be taking a look at just how incredibly overkill a lot of X670 motherboard VRMs are. So what I've got set up here today is a Gigabyte X670 Aorus Elite AX provided by Gigabyte, along with a 7950X provided by AMD, and this is being cooled by a EVGA CLC 280 all-in-one cooler. The fans are set up to pull air away from the motherboard, and the cooler's sitting pretty far away from the board, so there's basically no airflow over the motherboard at this point. And, you know, this setup here has been running Prime 95 for the last, almost 2 hours at this point. Also, I don't know why this keeps happening in OBS. Anyway, so yeah, this has been just kind of, running Prime 95 for the last 2 hours-ish. The average CPU current draw has been 174 amps. The CPU's been running at 95 degrees Celsius the entire time. This is with increased PBO limits, because if you run Prime 95 on the stock PBO settings, it'll actually hit 160 amp current limit. So the stock power current limits for a 7950X are evidently 230 watts power, but 160 amps current limit. So I have PBO increased, and yeah, it tops out at 174 amps with the PBO restrictions removed, because the 7950X is incredibly difficult to cool. I was hoping to hit 200 amps, because at least on paper this VRM should be able to handle 200 amps without any heatsink. But yeah, hitting 200 amps on a 7950X is not doable with a normal cooling system. If you ran direct die, it would probably be doable. If maybe liquid metal on top of the IHS would also be an option to get closer to that 200 amps. But this was just a quick initial test, and yeah, it tops out at 174. And the VRM with, no heatsink installed whatsoever and no real airflow has been sitting at 77 degrees Celsius. So yeah, the VRM on this board is incredibly overkill. And this isn't a fluke of the temperature sensor positioning or something. The VRM temperature sensor is right in this area, which is the hottest part of the board, or more the hottest part of the VCore VRM. Right, if we go over there, you can see 70. Yeah, it's a bit hard. Yeah, so I don't have a thermal camera. They're very expensive. So you can see, I can't really get a temperature reading higher than what the board itself is reporting. If we check the power plane's 70 degrees Celsius, which you'd expect. It's an 8-layer PCB. And then the top edge of the VRM is even cooler, which is typical. Most boards, the hottest part of the VRM is always in this sort of area, and then the top half tends to run pretty cool. But yeah, so it's not like Gigabyte, because there are motherboards out there where the VRM temperature sensor is right over here or something, right? Right at the outer edge of one of the coolest parts of the VRM, or just in a stupid location. And so you can get boards where the VRM temperature reading that the board provides is off by 10, 20 degrees Celsius. That's not the case here. The temperature sensor is in a perfectly reasonable location. And so the temperature reading is, as far as I can tell, it's accurate, or at least I have nothing to complain about it. Nothing to complain about with it. And yeah, the board just kind of, more than happy to provide the CPU with 174 amps while not having a heatsink installed. And it's sitting at 77 degrees. I think if I had managed to hit the 200 amp current target that I sort of wanted to hit, it would probably end up at 95 to maybe 105 degrees Celsius, which is still an acceptable operating temperature for a VRM. I mean, it's not exact, the capacitors wouldn't be thrilled about it, but the MOSFETs really couldn't care less. 105 degrees Celsius for the MOSFETs is really not a concern whatsoever. So yeah, and the reason I'm making this video is because a lot of the higher end, and very expensive X670 motherboards advertise things like 20 power stages or 24 power stages, 105 amp power stages, 110 amp power stages. Well, here we have 16 VCore power stages. There's 70 amp power stages from Infineon. No VRM heatsink. This has no issues powering a 7950X. unless you get creative with your cooling system, you're going to run out of CPU cooling before you run out of VRM capacity on a $300 board. Actually, it's a sub $300 board. It's like $290. So, yeah, like, as far as the power delivery, or I should say power capacity, or like current handling capacity of the VRM is concerned, you really don't need more than like, actually, this would probably be just fine even if it was 14 power stages instead of 16. And I think with the heatsinks installed, you might even be able to get away with 8. Because 70 amp smart power stages are really freaking good. And the crazy thing is actually, like, a lot of the power stages rated for like 90 or 105 or 110 amps, like, they don't really perform significantly better than the 70 amp parts. Because there's a sort of upper limit to how efficient your power stages can be. And the really crazy thing is, especially once you have like 20 power stages or something, the current per power stage is so low that having like a really high current rating on each individual power stage when you've got like 24 of them really doesn't do anything, because none of those power stages, like, let's say you had a 24 power stage V-core, right? You would need to hit 240 amps of CPU current draw in order for each power stage to be outputting just 10 amps. You know, less than 10% of its current capacity. Like, and the thing is, I'm struggling to cool the CPU while pushing 174 amps, right? No way. So, yeah, like, if you're choosing an X670 motherboard, just ignore the current handling capacity as long as the board has like 16, 70 amp smart power stages, or even 12. Like, I really, like, I'm running it with no heatsink. If the heatsink was on there, it probably wouldn't make the, well, I don't know. It might make the temperature significantly lower, but it doesn't really matter. It's just freaking fine, right? 76 degrees Celsius by VRM component standards is a very low operating temperature. So, yeah, don't worry about the current rating of the VRM on X670 motherboards, as long as it's like something similar to this or better, and also on an 8-layer PCB, because it is worth noting that on like a 6-layer PCB, the power plane might be losing a lot more heat, and so the VRM would actually be, like, the VRM itself wouldn't necessarily be making the majority of the heat on a 6-layer PCB compared to what we have here, which is an 8-layer PCB. And most X670 motherboards, as far as I know, use 8-layer PCBs, but I have seen at least one that is a 6-layer. It isn't available yet, but it should be coming out eventually, so that would potentially, or not even potentially, that would definitely run hotter than this does. I don't know that it would necessarily need a VRM heatsink just yet, but without, being able to test that, I can't say. Now, so hopefully I made it pretty clear that you don't need to worry about the current handling capacity for the like high-end X670 motherboards. It just doesn't matter. The CPU is not going to pull enough current ever. What there could be benefits with the higher end boards is you could get better voltage regulation. So you could find that like higher end boards are able to hit higher overclocks at at lower voltages or the same voltages that the lower end boards are able to do. However, voltage regulation, unfortunately, is a when you have with voltage regulators, you basically have two components of performance, right? How much current can the voltage regulator handle, and how well can it regulate the output voltage? And those two things are basically completely separate. So it is entirely possible to build a very inefficient, hot-running, low current handling, low current capacity voltage regulator with incredible voltage regulation performance, as in very, very, it does a great job of making sure that the voltage is as close to, or like there are minimal deviations in the output voltage. And on the opposite end, you could have like a massive 16-phase or 20-phase or 32-phase with just absolutely atrocious voltage regulation, but it runs at room temperature, right? Like it literally doesn't get hot at all. And so the thing is, without taking an oscilloscope to the, core voltage of the various motherboards, it's impossible to say if like, you wouldn't get much better voltage regulation on like a $700 motherboard compared to a $300 board, but it's also entirely possible that a $300 board actually has better voltage regulation than a $700 board, because I have seen that with B550. Actually, I've seen that with B550 motherboards where I've had like $150 B550 boards outperform... Actually, I've straight up had a B550, multiple B550 boards outperform X570 boards when it comes to voltage regulation, because in some cases, some manufacturers seem to just kind of slap a VRM on the board sometimes and just not deal with tuning it, like, at all. So, anyway, actually, funnily enough, some of the best performing B550 boards I've tested are actually the cheapest ones. Like, even the expensive B550 boards don't really have an advantage over the really cheap ones. So, anyway, yeah, and I do plan to do oscilloscope testing of the various X670 motherboards that I have. So, you know, I hope to provide that information in the future, but this was just a quick test of, like, how much VRM do you need? And the answer is not much. And somebody's going to go into the comments and be like, but future-proofing. And my counter-argument to your future-proofing concerns is that I don't think we're ever going to see a 300 amp CPU on the AM5 socket, because there's not much reason to shove more cores into this socket when the Threadripper platform exists. And I know AMD's been kind of neglecting it, but AMD doesn't have a reason to make a 32-core AM5 CPU. Also, there's like real concerns of how much space you have in this socket, right? The AM5, like the package for the AM5 CPUs is cramped. Like they're cutting holes into the IHS to get to get filtering capacitors onto the CPU. There's not enough space for more cores in this socket, basically. So yeah, I don't think we're ever going to see a CPU that pulls significantly more current than, like, honestly, I'd be surprised if we see a CPU that pulls 200 amps, because the thing is, as manufacturing processes get smaller and smaller and smaller, thermal density tends to actually outpace the, more like the rate at which the heat output of transistors goes down is much slower than the rate at which the density increases, which basically means that every new CPU is harder to cool than its predecessor. Like, you can hit more power draw and higher current draw on a 5950X with this exact same cooling system, and like it's just easier to do that on a 5950X. Like, I've gotten the 5950X to 200 amps on this exact cooler, and pulling like 250 watts, like more current than this does. And then, you know, you get the 7950X, and it's just uncoolable, and it's not even pulling as much power as the 5950X was. And it's pulling less current than the 5950X was. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, future AM5 CPUs were just as difficult, if not more difficult, in terms of cooling requirements, but their actual power consumption and current draw kept going down. Because that's sort of been the trend ever since, actually, for as long as CPUs have been made, right? Like, transistor density keeps going up, and power consumption doesn't seem to be following it anywhere near as closely as people would probably hope, because you just end up with chips that are more and more difficult to cool. So, yeah, there's no point. Like, there's, at least from a power handling capacity perspective, there is no point getting a bigger VRM than this. Now, some of the VRMs might have better voltage regulation than this does. That could be an actual benefit and a reason to buy the more expensive boards, but the current handling capacity is not it, because this is already incredibly overkill, and this is one of the cheapest X670 motherboards currently available. So, yeah, anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. If you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon. There's a link to that down in the description below. There's also the HOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, hoodies, posters, you know, the usual YouTuber merch. And I've also got a Bandcamp. There's a link to that down in the description below as well. And that's it for the video, so thank you for watching, and goodbye.